Welcome back to Walk with TFB. Tim Bryson here, and as y'all know, I'm a Black millennial who's eager to have unfiltered conversation with authentic people centered on international education, global sport, and Black culture. Now, this podcast episode is pretty special. Every single podcast episode is a special episode, but this one in particular is one that is near and dear to my heart, and most definitely be near and dear to the Walk with TFB community. As I listen to this conversation today. I met this individual about 4 years ago now ish. Back when I was working at the University of Maryland, College Park, go Terps. And ever since that first time that we met, I believe it was international night. You were one of the only ones that came from Canada. There are a few, but you're one of the ones that came from Canada. I'm like, yo, like, who is this person? Over the last 4 years, we've gotten to know each other on a deeper level, which of course we'll talk about on this podcast episode today. Without further ado, y'all help me welcome. I should have learned how to say this in French, but Ashley Germain. What's up, Ashley?
Ooh, hello. I'm excited for this. I'm
How
excited.
you been? How you been, man?
This is good stuff. Honestly, right now I'm thriving. I'm very good. I'm happy to be here with you tonight. Yeah, let's get to it. I'm excited.
Let's get to it then. Segment one. So again, one of the things that we talked about a lot together with Marilyn May, is storytelling, right? What's your story? Tell me about yourself, yada yada. And I got to know your story pretty deeply, or at least on a deeper level than most people the last several years. But I really want to situate you and your experiences and your lived experiences both back home and the United States, and share with us actually like what is your story? Like what do you want the people to know about who you and who you are?
Yeah, so from Canada, right? I am my mom is from Haiti, my dad is from Togo. Um, and I came to University of Maryland. I got a scholarship for track. So I always knew I wanted to do track in the US because I feel like the opportunity is just better to compete at a higher level. So I was a jumper on the track and field team, and I majored in kinesiology, and also fun fact, I speak French, English, and Haitian Creole. I have three half sisters, and what's another fact about me? I think that's pretty solid. Oh, and I'm on the pre-PA track. Yeah.
Okay, so we're not you being too modest right now, and that's fine. You're gonna warm up over the course of this episode, which is totally fine. But the first question I want to start with, and I think I asked many international athletes this, is like, at what point in Canada for you did you say, you know what, like, I want to go compete in this thing called the NCAA over in the US?
Yeah. So for me, think that the NCAA is the biggest stage for college students. I always knew it was always in my mind when I was back home. Because back home you compete a lot with the same people, or like I feel like the level NCAA is just like higher. So it was never a question in my mind to am I going to the US, yes or no. At that point, it was more like who am I going? Like where am I going? Um,
Mm,
and the process with Maryland was like super easy because I already knew some Canadians on the team.
sure.
So it kind of like it felt like home like immediately like from the start,
Yeah.
from the jump. So like yeah, yeah, but I don't regret my decision. I had an amazing experience at
No,
Maryland.
it was dope to watch. And so you came, but obviously you transitioned to the United States into UMD, but going back to Canada in particular, right? Many people, especially English speaking Americans, when they go to Canada, they go straight to Toronto for the
Mm,
most part.
yeah.
Sometimes Vancouver, but Toronto, Vancouver. I've been to Montreal once. It was very different. I love the little Olympic Park and everything, the little big tower thing. I don't know what it's called, but I went up in there, whatever. But you grew up in Montreal, one of the only in Quebec, is it right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
One of the only, if not the only French speaking province in Canada. What was it like growing up in Montreal? Take me to that experience. I didn't grow up there. I've only visited for a few
Oh
days.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I do have, I'm not gonna lie to you. I always tell people I'm from Montreal. I was born in Montreal, so I'm like claiming Montreal, right?
Yeah,
Well, I'm actually from the city right next to it. Like it takes me 5 minutes to go to Montreal.
yeah.
But let me speak on that experience. So I grew up only like mainly speaking French, so I did everything in French back home, like school, my friends, my family, like everything is in French. So then when I like went to Maryland, I was like, all right, like, this is different. You know how y'all like be having like Spanish classes, like you know your basics. It's cool, it's cute.
Uh-huh.
But that was
Yeah.
me with like English. Like everything was in French, but like I had like English classes. So I
Yeah.
Netflix was my best friend. I'm not gonna lie to you. So yeah, growing up, everything was in French. And yeah, I just had to learn English very, very quickly when I got to college. So
That's insane. So everything's in hold on, everything's in French. But
everything,
Montreal is also like not in like, Florida, California, Texas. It's cold up there. It can get cold up there.
it's cold right now. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but you're a jumper.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How are you introduced to track in Canada?
Yeah. So I had to travel to have access to a track. I had an indoor track, but you don't want to practice outdoor during the winter. It's not something you want to do. So I did have access to indoor track, but then you're limited, right? Um, I'm thinking about like my throwers who like practice javelin or other events in track. It's a little bit more difficult for them to practice. For me, I was not really impacted as a jumper. But yeah, it's limited and it gets cold. But people don't know. It also gets really hot in the summer. Like people be thinking like, oh, Canada, it's cold. You should be used to the cold. I'm used to the hot too. Like, don't get it wrong. It gets hot and it gets really cold. So yeah.
But how did you get introduced to track? Like did you play soccer growing up, basketball?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I did not actually answer your question. So I play a lot of sport from like ballet to like skiing, soccer. I actually did basketball and track for the longest time, like together. But at one point in my athletic career, if I can say, I had to choose between the two because if you want to be really good at one, then you can't just keep doing both for a long time. So
Mhm.
I was debating for the longest time, like basketball, track, like what am I gonna do? And then yeah, it ended up being track, but I love basketball.
And so you picked you picked track. How old were you this time? 12, 14,
I had my first track meet at 14.
14. So
Yeah.
between 14 and recruitment age, like women a little different, but 16, 17, you must have got at least a little bit good to be a
Yeah.
Division One athlete. So like when did you know you were like good enough to compete at the
Yeah.
NCAA?
So I had my first track meet at 14 years old. That was yeah, 2014, 2015. I was national champion in my event. So
In
I
a
guess
year?
I guess that did it for me.
You won a national championship?
And then 2017, I was part of Team Canada in long jump. So,
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. You only jumped for 1 year and won nationals?
at the time, I was not just a jumper. I was like a multi. I used to do like a lot of events.
Uh,
So I won the pentathlon,
yep.
which is 5 events, um, like combined to one. And that was what I actually like became champion.
And then competed for Team Canada.
Then I competing again, and then I was part of Team Canada as a jumper, though, as a long jumper, not the heptathlon or the pentathlon.
And so, I mean, we just came, what year is 24? Yeah, we just came out of Paris, Olympic year. I think
Mhm.
everyone knows track Olympic year is like a sacred thing. For those who have not, or like people like myself who weren't good enough to compete for their national teams, what is that experience like competing for Team Canada and representing your country in a sport that you grew to love?
Yeah, you're proud, like like when I competed in 2017 with the team, there's also that pressure that okay, like this is like another level now, like it's not state, it's not like it's
Mm.
really like you represent your country, so the stakes are higher, but I had fun with it. I was like, I'm here for a reason.
Mhm. Mhm.
I made it to the team, So at that point, it was not like stress. It was just like, all right, let me make my country proud. Let me have fun with it because it's not all the time that you can have that international experience competing at like a different stage, on a different stage. Sorry. So yeah.
This is so good. Segment two, we're going to transition. I think your experience and really talking to you on this episode, especially right now in your career, you were in college for a few years. Now you've been out of college for a few years. So your experience or your perspective on like what your college experience was like while you were in it, and then obviously looking back, I'm sure has evolved and grown and matured over time. But you came to Maryland, what, fall 19, right? Fall 2019?
I started in January 2020, so like COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was interesting. I was waiting for that college experience because I thought in my head like college in the US, it's like it's gonna be like in the movies, like people are gonna be singing around me, like it's gonna be like the movies. And I remember actually on my visit, me and my mom were driving around campus, and I like saw the band practicing, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, mom, it's like in the movies." So I was mad excited when I started, and then 3 months after I started, COVID hit, so I just went back home. So that's how it started. Um, but I came back, obviously. But
Of course, you came back under different circumstances. I mean, obviously, because of the
yeah,
pandemic and whatnot.
mhm,
But as you had those first 3 months, obviously you went home for a minute, did virtual school,
yeah.
which I know as an international student was a nightmare with the whole visa process and everything else, which is insane to think about. But both in that first semester, that first 3 months, and then when you returned to school, how did like your coaches, teammates, staff like help you transition, or what's your transition process like coming into a new environment, new country, finally being in person? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I feel like people like would give me advice or just support me the best they could do. Coach give you advice as a coach. Like my friends, like they make sure that I can adapt to my environment. I got like when I came to Maryland, like it was very quick. Like people were like, "Hey, like what's up?" Like they wanted to know me. Like it was easy. Like I was not stressed about just trying to. And I'm extrovert, so like it was easy for me too to like meet new people. But like they all made sure that I was good. If I had any questions, any like even like crazy things, they were able to like answer all my questions. And like I told you about my English. My English was not great when I started. So like I would always ask them like, "Oh, like guys, like how do you say like X, Y, and Z like in English?" And like we would have fun with it because sometimes I would be saying crazy stuff. Like they would be like, "Bro, Ashley, you cannot say that. Like it's not something that you can do or say." And I would be like, "Oh, really? Like my bad. Like I still don't know." Um, so like my friends they were like really helpful with that. Um, just like yeah, like teaching me new stuff, or like words. Um, but yeah, it was really good.
Did you know, like, I mean, of course you're from Canada, but did you know when you both your first what fall was it January 2020, and then when you came back, I'm assuming there was that fall 2020. Like, did you know you were an international student? Like, did you feel like an international student?
You know what? By that time, I feel like because Canada and the U.S. like it's not like a cultural shock. So like for me, granted, I think that compared to maybe other international student athletes, it was easier for me to feel at home, like maybe quicker.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I well, so okay, let's say like this. I think that socially, in my sport, it didn't take time for me to like feel comfortable. Um, but I'm still dealing with visa stuff. I'm still dealing with like like the laws. So that made me feel like, hey, like don't get it twisted. Like you're still an international student. Like it's not always gonna be easy. But socially, yeah, it was quick. I felt comfortable very quickly.
So one of the things about what you just mentioned in particular, and obviously being there at the same time as you, is that like sport op can help, sure. Socially, obviously, I'm sure you had a great time. But for those who don't know, like myself, who didn't know anything about this V F1 thing and I-20 thing, And for our listeners who may not know, right, or what these things are, just talk to us more about like what are the things you had to consider related to your visa and your international status in the United States as a college athlete.
Yeah, so first of all, one of the big thing is, when you're an international student, you're not allowed to work. Um, so I was lucky to be like on a full ride, a full scholarship. But for my like fellow teammates who like perhaps I don't know if they had a full scholarship, but like if you're like you need to pay for stuff or to get around or groceries and all that, like you do need the money. So like how do you get the money? You cannot work. So, what do you do? So I feel like this is like one of many challenges of being an international student athlete. Um, Also, like you need to make sure everything you do, you need to make sure that you're to double check that you're doing it right, basically. Um, so let's say um, after college, if you want to work, you use that OPT. OPT is, what allows you to work in the US after graduation. How do you apply for that OPT? It might seems like, oh, like she just want to work, like she just needs to sign that offer letter, she's good. Nah, like there's just so many things that you need to double check with all the professionals around you. Like there are people that are here to help you. So everything is not like, oh, let me just do it. Like ask yourself, oh, can I actually do it? And that followed me my whole college experience, because it's like I was always asking myself, am I actually allowed to do that? It seems like it's nothing, but as an international student athlete, you cannot, allow yourself to make mistakes, because that mistake can be like it can become very bad. So
This is so good. This is so good for so many different reasons. Because when you came to the States, like when you left your home, come to College Park, did you know you wanted to stay in the United States post graduation at that point in time? Really?
wait, no, 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 I'm playing with you. Wait. Say that again. I'm playing with you.
Like when you left Canada to come to College Park,
Mhm.
obviously you were like, I'm excited. It's like just like the movies, the parties, the band, whatever. Like, were you thinking anything about like, yo, where am I gonna live and work like after I graduate?
Oh, for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Like in the United States in particular?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, so okay, let me calm down. I had an idea. I had
Cool.
like thought about it. Like it's something that obviously like it comes with it a little bit. You're like, like it might happen. Like let me yeah, so I definitely thought about it. But the more time I spent in college, then I was like, all right, that's something that I really want to do. Like I really want to stay in the US. Well, for like I don't know how long, but like then you really start thinking about it when you're like in it. But like before, I would say like I definitely thought about it.
So what were those moments where you're like, yeah, I think I want to stay here even for a little bit? And I asked this question in particular because um socially and even I think in some ways like propaganda at times can say, the land of the free, land of opportunity. There's so much you can do here that you can't do on your own. But like for you, like you're obviously going to class,
Yeah.
treatment, practice, travel, a lot happening. But what were those moments you're like, you know what, I think I might want to stay here a little bit?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I think that, like I said, you think about it at first, but I think what really changed my mind, or like really confirmed that I really wanted to stay for a little bit of time, is the family that you build here. Like, I have family at home, I have my friends back home, like, love them, but like, Maryland really became like a second home for me. Like, I'm thinking about my people here, the people that are gonna be like at my wedding, like my children are gonna know like their children, like my friends, like that's when you start connecting with the people here. And I love my people in Maryland, like y'all, like I think it took what 2 seconds for us to be like comfortable with each other. Like it
Hmm.
was easy. So I made so many like good connections at my time at Maryland that I was like, I can't I can't just leave, you know? And I was like, yeah, my business here is not done, you know? But the thing is, and that was really difficult because at one point I was like, okay, I want to stay. Now, how do I make this happen? Because okay, yeah, I want to stay, but what's next? Because I can't just stay. I'm international student. Like, it's not that easy. It is not that easy.
Not at all. So what'd you do?
Ooh, what didn't I do? Like, I did everything. I did everything. Like, I used my OPT. Yeah. After that, I'm fortunate to have the opportunity to apply for a TN visa, which I did. So right now I'm on my TN visa, and for the people that don't know what the TN visa is, um, it's just for Canadians and Mexicans, and it allows us to work in the U.S. for 3 years, um, and then you can always renew that visa. So I had to like search do like to search talk to people. I'm like, okay, how do I make this happen, because this is what I want, but I know it goes like above me. Like, it's not just like, all right, I this is what I'm gonna do, like I'm gonna do it myself. No, I need to respect the law. So yeah, talk to a lot of people. the phew, the path to where I am right now, I'm not even gonna lie, like a lot of challenges for sure, for sure. But I'm here now.
I mean, you are here now, and I want to this again. I like talking to people like yourself, who I've known for a while, because there's so many conversations that we've already had, of course, off record and off recording, and just trying to figure out like how to really paint this picture of like, yo, like you could talk, Ashley, you could talk for an hour and a half, and there's still gonna be so many different things that like people just aren't just gonna know, which is fine. Like they can follow up with you after, hit you on LinkedIn, etc. But I'm thinking uniquely about, you realize you want to stay in the States. You say you want to respect the law, make sure you do it right. You have so many different questions and whatnot. Um, but as you go back to your college experience, like what were those, whether meetings, conversations you had with folks about like just like what do I do next? Like what support do I need from others out, whether either in the athletic department or ISSS or et cetera? Like how did you actually go about the process?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I thought I knew a lot of things while I was back in college. I thought I had asked all my questions, but unfortunately you don't know what you don't know, right? And I think, and that applies to like, I think all the schools in the US, it has to be more than one or two workshops for international student athletes. Like, they need to like know like what's next. Like, it's so easy to be like, all right, like we had our little meeting. Um, does everyone have questions? No. All right, boom. Like, we are good with international student athletes for the year. It can't just be that. So like it was actually a shock for me, like after college, to realize how all the things I had to do in order to stay in the US. Um, People don't um always understand that just choosing your major will impact the rest of your life in the US. It starts with that major, because everything you need to do, like everything you want to do later, is it related to your major? No, you can't have that internship. What? What do you mean I can't have that internship? Because I'm family science and I want to try something in business. Nah, you can't do it. Too bad. You should have known like when you were a freshman, It's crazy. It's crazy. And the thing is, like, I think like that's the like sad part of it, because a lot of athletes come to college with like, that dream, like I'm gonna make it, like I'm going to the league, or like I'm going to the Olympics, or like whatever. So like they're so focused on their sport that it's like, all right, let me choose a major that I don't really care about. But the problem with that is like, okay, it's cool. They get injured. Now what? You can't practice your sport. So you have to switch that focus into something else. All right, I'm interested in, I don't know, yeah, business or health, but because your major does not reflect what you want to do, you can't actually do it. And that's the problem, because it's like, dang, like I really wanted that internship, but because my major is not related to what I want to do, I can't do it. I can't have that job. It's not related to my qualifications. I don't have the qualifications to do it. So it really starts from like that first year when you choose your major, like there's so many things that people like unfortunately don't realize soon enough, and it impacts their whole life if they want to stay in the US.
Yeah, I'm smiling because I'm thinking back to, well, one, everything you said is obviously true, that 1000% true. But two, I'm smiling because I remember, I believe it was, I think we were in my office, and it's when you're going through the internship process, and we had to get that social security number. You
Woo!
remember that? Yeah.
Woo! Super grateful, by the way. Shout out to you.
Yo, but to your point, right? I mean, I definitely didn't know everything. I still don't know everything. I'm like, yeah, it'd be fine. Just hire the international, work on campus, do. They need a social, they need an offer letter and so
Right.
going through that learning process of you, I'm like, yo, there's so much.
So much, like so many things that we need to think about. And like I said, at one point I thought I was good. I was like, hey, like I'm
Hmm.
super like I'm asking my questions, like, like I have resources. I had you. I was like, yo, I'm straight. But unfortunately, we don't know everything.
Hmm.
And it never stops. And like I don't like I just want to like go to schools and like talk to the athletes, like the international student athletes, like, hey y'all need to like wake up. Like, I promise it's not always sweet. Like, yes, you're enjoying your sport, you're enjoying school. If you want to stay in the US, it's more than that. It's more than that. So, man,
Hmm.
it's always something, then, bro.
So it is. And we celebrated a few wins over the last several years, but I think one of the things we celebrated, at least that I was super proud of, even, leaving at that point in time, was you're elected and named the president of Worldwide Terps at Maryland. And so I would love for you to share with our listeners and viewers, what is Worldwide Terps? We'll start there and talk to us more about, why that role in that organization for you, I'm sure became family in some way, shape, or form, but
Oh
was so
yeah.
important for your experience at Maryland and of course beyond.
Yeah, I feel like being the president of Worldwide, first of all, I think that was like one of my first like leader positions. Like, I really enjoyed it because I like kind of like was like born in it, like my leadership. And like, yeah, I feel like my leadership like really grew while because I was president. And like I feel like it was really just like an opportunity for me to ask the students, like, what do you need? Like, what are we doing? Like, come like with all your issues, like all the things that you're struggling with, and like let's create like solutions. Because unfortunately, it's not everyone that are gonna come to international student athletes and be like, all right, what do you need? Like, now we also have to do it like ourselves. So I feel like it was a great opportunity to just be in this with my teammates or other people from other sports. And one of the first thing that we created is, how do we do our taxes? Like, it sounds like so like, it's nothing, but like international student athletes did not know how to do their taxes at Maryland for the longest time. Like, you would think that it's something that it's easy, whatever, easy fix. Like, nah, we created that partnership with Turf Tax on campus, and then it became a thing. So like I feel like I was president for a year, but I felt like we accomplished so many things. International students, they don't always have the chance to go back home during like the holiday season, or so we created that dinner, Thanksgiving dinner. Like, let's have dinner all together. Like, we're a family. We're all in this together. So um Worldwide Terp was really like it was my baby. Like, till this day, like, I went to like a meeting or two this year, and I was like, yeah, like this is what we need. And I just hope that years after years they're just in great hands, because it's a very important program, and it helped me a lot. It helped me a lot.
I mean, you did a phenomenal job, not just as a positional leader, but then also making sure that the organization continued to thrive
Yeah.
after you left. And you mentioned, right, this organization is super important for Maryland international athletes, which is in alignment with you there. But somehow along the way, I don't know, like this thing called the NCAA national office hit you. It was like, yo, want you to come speak or something like that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I was a speaker at the NCAA Inclusion Forum. Um, wow, I that was crazy experience because the thing is, because I was doing good work in Maryland, it got recognized and they were like, hey, like come and talk about your experience as an international student athlete. Like come and talk to us. Like educate like the other people in the room. How does it feel like to be from outside the country? Like what do you need? Like what are the challenges you face? So I got to like speak on my experience to many people that day, and my hope was to that they would like leave the room and be like, all right, like let's help our the international like let's help them, like like they gotta have a strong system to thrive because like we said earlier, it never gets easy. Like there's always something. So love that experience. 10 out of 10. And well, you got to experience it too. So you can also talk about like the forum. Like it's crazy. And
It is. I think, and what the NCAA is doing right now, to be honest, is increasing both awareness but also education for international athletes, which I'm excited to see personally, especially just seeing where we've come the last, again, 4 or 5 years. I think I spoke the first time spring 2020. Yeah. So seeing like how it's grown over the last 4 going into 5 years, like wow, like thankfully more international athletes are coming here, which is super dope. Now we're starting to see more national office support, which is amazing. I
yeah,
think the next piece is like the departments themselves. Like, how did we get these schools to
yeah,
put some money and leadership and resources behind supporting international athletes during their time, coming here, but also leaving their
yeah.
students as well, for sure.
Wow.
Couple more questions before we get into support, Ashley. And this question came up a little bit earlier in my brain. I waited to ask for a number of different reasons. Because you mentioned, I thought it was 19, but you said you came January 2020. This thing called the pandemic happened, right? Everyone went home, whatever. You come back fall 20.
Mhm.
But while you were away, in the summer and then definitely in the fall, if my memory serves me correctly, we had a US presidential election. There's also the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, so as a Black presenting international college athlete, seeing like this Black Lives Matter movement happening, of course, in the United States and globally, but then you come back and it's like this presidential election. Like, if you can remember, like, take us back, take me back, take us back to like what were you thinking? Like, yo, like, I thought it was gonna be parties and da 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 da, and now we're seeing riots and rallies and this and that. Like what was that? Like, as an Black international college athlete.
Yeah, first I think that, I felt for my friends, my people, because like, all right, like I'm not only going through it as an international student, but like my friends, like the people that I knew at the time, I was like, all right, like yo, like it's a crazy time. It's a crazy world. Like, um, and I feel like I just had to be more, um, I don't know, it was, how could I say this? It was a lot of new things for me, first of all. Because I feel like the BLM movement and all that, it's not like things that I get to experience back home per se. And I feel like when you come in the US, it's so like prominent. Like like it's a reality that we all need to face. And uh, I feel like for my part, it was an occasion to educate myself. Because coming from Canada, like I said, it's not something that you see on the news like that you live. And it's not funny, but it's funny because like as a person like coming from Canada, when I came here, obviously I'm perceived as an American black person. Like I'm not, who would think that, oh, like she doesn't know, like what would they think otherwise, I'm in the country. So for me, I had to kind of like change the way I move. Like, like there's certain things that I can't do, or like, yeah, like it got different for me real quick because I'm like, okay, like I'm a part of this, like, and I feel like there's standards that I need to achieve as a black woman. Like, I feel like, yeah, like I need to be, successful, like overly successful in like the things that I do. Um, I need all the I need to like get a lot of experiences in like different fields. Like I need to be like competent. Like I need to be perceived as like, I need to excel in everything I do because like this is what like black women like nowadays like they really need to be like really really great at what they do to be slightly perceived as okay like they're good. They can have a seat at the table. Um, so I feel like for me that experience was like, okay, like I knew about it, I could like hear it, but now I'm living it. Um, so that was different. That was different for sure.
This is so good. This is so good. I never asked you that. I never asked you that question. Before we move to segment three, you committed what, 2017, 18? When did you commit? 18,
Um, 19.
19? So looking back now, what are you, 24, almost 5 years later? What is, I'll say one, but if you give me two or three, that's fine. But one thing you wish you knew prior to coming to college, now
Whew.
that you lived it and have secured, a couple of visas since you graduated.
Yeah, I wish I knew about the visas. Shoot. No, period. I could stop right here. Like because the thing is, I just I just wished I had like a map that would like show me like what my college experience would look like. Um, I feel like I just kept learning and learning, 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 and okay, I got through it. But like I said, it wasn't easy. Like from just like choosing my major to like um having that OPT and all the process, like the process for OPT, TN visa, that's a learning experience itself. Like just that is like
Hmm.
okay, you know about it, but what do you know about it? Like what are the things you're supposed to do? OPT, like, and the stress that comes with it. Like I just wished I knew more about the visa, even the TN visa process. Like it just I had to do a lot of research. So I think the visas and just to know like okay like do you want to stay in the US, yes or no? Okay, at least here are your options if you want to stay.
Yep. Yep.
I just wish I had more education about that. And I feel like I wish I had some sort of like mentorship from like another international student. Because like they should you with like resources, like click on this link. Here are like all the links that are like should be helpful, but like obviously you don't go through all of them. Like it's not practical. So I
Hmm.
feel like that's something that I should create. Like create like some sort of mentorship, like pair like an international athlete with another person, like another international student, because okay, they get all the links, but they also get that experience. They also like get it, like they get it from another person. Like it's easier to understand, and not like a passive some sort of mentorship. Like that person really needs to like be able to like share their experience and be like, hey, like here are like the mistakes that I did that I thought I was good, but like like don't do that, or like really have that one-on-one that would like make the other person understand like, all right, like here's a more global picture of what my college experience would look like.
Not, yeah, I do know. And you got me thinking about some things I'm gonna talk to you about after this recording is over for sure. But you mentioned a couple things in your response just now. But looking at you right, on the Zoom as we currently sit, you look healthy, you look happy, you look joyful and joyous. It's good to see you. You're doing a phenomenal job as a Black woman, as a Canadian woman, as a Black Canadian woman with Togo and Haiti roots. You're doing a phenomenal job. Phenomenal job.
Appreciate it.
But I know it was not always easy.
Nope.
I know it wasn't always easy. What you told me and what you haven't told me, I know it wasn't always easy. So how are you taking care of yourself in that process? You know, shout out some people that may have helped you or resources that may have helped you during that process to keep you both sane, but also determined to be like, no, I'm staying in the United States. Like I ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna be here.
Yeah. um Honestly, I need to give you your flowers. No, 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 but I'm not even like kidding because and it's not just you, but people like you that do care about international students. And it's like these are the resources that we like need because it's like I feel like sometimes when I was like looking for jobs, like it was like, all right, Tim, like who do you know that can help me? And it
Mm-hmm.
was like, all right, like, boom, like, I know this person, like, she's Canadian, she works at da da da, like,
Mm-hmm.
it really came to like the connections that I had, and that made like the whole process easier. Um, and then it's like, yeah, sometimes you reach out to people like they don't know, but they'll direct you to like the right person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like that really helped. Because I'm not gonna lie, like it was really stressful, like the whole visa process, like applying, like the mental health, like if you're not strong, like it can really like impact you and not in the good way. Like it's the stress because it's like, let's say for I work now, so I I'm I'm on the TN visa, but I didn't mention it. I accepted a job as a research assistant at Howard University.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
Congrats
very
again.
happy, very excited. But just that TN visa process, I had to make sure that my qualifications would be accepted for the job, and that even when you apply, and then that employers they see like that they need to sponsor you, oh,
Mm-hmm.
automatically sometimes it's like next resume. We don't need this headache. Um, but it's crazy because the TN visa is different, and like I said, I feel very lucky because it's not like the typical sponsorship uh that you can look at. It's like they don't have to pay for the cost of the visa.
Mm-hmm.
They're I can like, and it's I can pay for it. And they only need to like write you letters and give you that offer letter. It's the process is easy. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, employers they don't always know that because they're not familiar with the visa process.
Mm-hmm.
So so I before getting the job, I was like applying, and like God knows like who like did not even look at my resume because it said that I've required like a sponsorship is required, you know. So just the process of applying is like a lot, and then okay, you get that offer letter, you need to go to the border and still get that visa approved. It could still get denied. So even when you think that you're good, you're set, there's always something next that you need to think about. And I just wish that we could just like educate like our people, and whew, like that at least they know what's coming up, so they can prepare themselves.
I agree, and I agree with you. But we're not moving to segment three until you tell me how do you take care of yourself? How are you taking care of yourself?
um Listen, like I said, I have a family here. um Whew, my people here, they're just amazing. I keep contact with my family back home. It's important to call them, to call my people back home. That helps. Like I have a whole system, like go to church here. Like I feel like I have a whole community like around me. So even when I like feel that stress or feel like I'm like overwhelmed, I have the people that I can like talk to or call. Um, so it's super easy. Like I said, Maryland is a second home for me. Like I feel good here. So even um yeah, if I don't feel comfortable or I have questions, I have my people here that can like just help me go through those obstacles, and yeah, whatever I'm facing. So that helps. Music is good too. I'm big on music. So yeah, and then whenever my mom comes, she like cooks me like meals that I can just put in the freezer, so I still get the chance to like eat my Haitian meal. And she be making like rice and like all like the meat and stuff, like so it feels like home. Like when I eat, like it's like
Mhm.
okay, like my mom came, like she she made
Yeah,
all the meals, like I'm good, I'm set, like I'm hungry, like just take that meal out of the freezer and you're good. Um, but yeah, I have my people here. I have my people back home that still am super connected to church. Like me and God are locked in. So yeah, I'm good.
for sure. Segment three, Ashley. I think hearing your story even now, I even learned some new things today, both about your recruitment and transition process, but then also through your ongoing career journey, purpose journey, if you will. So I'd love for you to share number one, like what are your career goals right now. But then two, I tell you and every other international athlete I talk to, for as long as you want to stay in the United States, I'm gonna do whatever I can to make it happen. So how can I and our podcast community best support you and I'll say primarily your career goals because we're not letting you leave this country as long as you want to be here.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm on the pre-PA track. So that's the ultimate goal.
Hmm.
I do am like so I was a medical assistant. My last day actually was in October of this year. So I got that clinical experience. Right now I'm a research assistant, so like I'm getting like my experiences in like different fields to just like build my resume and like know more about like the health in general. Um, the ultimate goal is PA. PA school would be great, and I'm a East Coast girly, so mainly I will mainly apply to schools in the East Coast. But yeah, for people to just like to continue to support us, we just need to keep talking about it. Like people
Hmm.
need to care, and
Hmm.
it's so easy, but it's not always happening. You know, unfortunately, like people like know about it, know about international students, like know about like the challenges, but they don't always talk about it. And
Hmm.
like I feel like if we just keep like talking about it, like just that, like people just need to like start even like caring a little bit about it. Cause when they care, that's when they start acting, you know? Um, so yeah, that would be really great, you know, just continuing having those conversations. And hard conversations sometimes it doesn't always need to be like butterflies and you know, like we need to talk about the hard stuff too. It's part of it. So, yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing that. I like that. When people care, they start to take action. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Ashley, it's been a blessing to talk to you, my friend. Um, our relationship, friendship has been a joy. I
Yeah.
love the updates and the FaceTimes to celebrate the wins, to keep you here and to keep us connected as well. Um, and though there's a lot of work to be done, I know we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it happen, not just with making sure you get secure acceptance and really admission into a PA school, but then also making sure that every single international college athlete that comes through the NCAA system has the support they need to thrive. And however they want to thrive, whether you want to stay here, go home, whatever you need, like we're gonna make sure that it's possible and feasible for that to happen while they're in this country.
Sure.
But before we jump off, the very, very last question I wanted to ask you, and I think it's a funny question to be honest, so don't stress, is you mentioned learning English through Netflix, and I'm
Ooh,
learning Spanish right now.
okay.
Uh-huh. And you hear the stories all the time, right? I learn English or French or whatever through Netflix, uh, music, etc.
Mhm.
You said Netflix helped you learn English. So just tell the people, what were some of those shows that you watched that helped you learn English back in the day?
Hey, what's that show about? Dang it, is it Prison Break?
Right, yeah.
Prison Break was one of them. It's so random.
It's a great show.
But I love the show, yeah. I watched I don't know if it was like later on, but Queen of the South.
In the South, yeah.
Um,
Great
I
show.
also like tried to like watch like that's maybe embarrassing. I don't know. I don't care. But like shows for like kids. So like I
Um,
was like watching like that SpongeBob or like
yeah,
um just so I could like get like the basics and like just like easy like
that's
way of
smart.
communicating.
Super smart.
'Cause, like if a kid can do it, I can do it too. What?
That's actually super smart.
Yeah.
How do you in French, how do you say thank you for your time?
Merci pour ton temps.
Merci beaucoup temps, Ashley.
And then
Uh,
before we leave, I actually give like one advice.
please do.
Like, okay.
Please do.
So I think that one of the things that I learned is like, okay, yeah, it's sports, but it's also more than that. I feel like athletes see sports as an opportunity, but I think that in reality, sports bring you the opportunities. So I feel like, yeah, like people be thinking like, yeah, like let me be successful in my sport, like let me give it all. But also keep in mind that sport like track opens so many doors for me. And I'm doing things, I'm here today because yeah, I was part of a track and field team, but like track like brought me to like the NCAA inclusion forum. Like it brought me to like internships. It brought me to trips in New York and like other places like where I could like build like like career development. So I feel like just like my athletes, like especially my international student athletes, like keep in mind like you have your sport, yeah, but it's more than that, and like they need to utilize like all the resources and like the opportunities that they'll get because it'll bring you like far, far, far. I'm not saying like, oh, like they're not gonna make it far in their sport, but I'm just saying like it's also more than that. Like, yeah. So
So mic drop. That is a mic drop for sure. So Ashley, again, thank you for your time and this time in English. Spending the last 50 or so minutes with us, sharing more about your lived experience, opportunities, but also a call to action and really a call to care, so
Mhm.
we can move forward in action, collective action together. For everyone else, man, thank y'all for tuning in to episode 4 of the Walk with TAB season 6 podcast. As you can see, I mean, even with this current episode, we continuing to elevate, continuing to take step by step and walk in our evolving purpose. But since our very inception, both as a podcast and business, but also myself as the founder, international college athletes in this country, the United States, will always come first. I'm strongly committed to that purpose. So we'll see y'all next week for another episode. Ashley, I'll see you in the DMV here sometime soon.
You
Uh,
already
I need to start watching some Spanish cartoons to get my Spanish up.
it'll help. I
For
promise.
sure. For sure. But for everyone else, man, it's happening. It's here. We're walking. Peace out.